can type a yes in the chat box. Great, thank you. We'll just begin now. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's session. Our topic for today is Nano Banana versus GPT-5, the next big leap in AI image generation. We're excited to have you join us as we explore the next frontier in artificial intelligence, AI image generation, through a deep dive into Nano Banana versus GPT-5. And to guide us today through this topic, we have with us our esteemed speaker, Rushikesh Meharwade. Rushikesh is the founder of Vidvatta with over a decade of experience in data science, performance testing, NLP, and corporate training. Rushikesh has worked with leading organizations such as Capgemini and Renault Nissan, helping them harness the power of AI. He is a passionate educator, a mentor for top edtech platforms, and a thought leader in machine learning and, natural language processing. Before we begin, a quick note on how the session will flow. Attendees are in listen-only mode, but you can submit your questions via the chat or the Q&A tab at any given point. Our speaker will also be answering your questions in a Q&A at the end, so please feel free to engage and participate throughout the session. Without further ado, let's dive into this topic. Over to you, Rishikesh.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Uh, Welcome everyone to the session on Nano Banana versus the Chat GPT. Just give me a second. I think I'm just looking into getting it done. So perfect, guys. Hello. So this is Rushikesh Meharwade. Just before we get started, I want to quickly confirm if you can hear me loud and clear or not. Can you please confirm to me? Awesome, awesome, great, great. So hi everyone. So this is my name is Rushikesh Meharwade, and as the team already mentioned, I have around 14 years of experience in the IT industry, and have been working in this field of AI from last 8 to 9 years. When all of this trend started, a lot of this in the back end, like the last decade was more around ML as a sexiest job of that time, and now I think AI is present everywhere. So like around the initial career of mine, I used to work in the performance testing and production engineering to some level, where we used to look at a lot of data as an important thing. And from that data, uh, we were doing a lot of analysis. And machine learning was something very hot at that time. I was very scared of getting into it. There is a from 2011 and 12, I think all of you must know about the Coursera. Okay, so Andrew Ng started Coursera with this initial course of machine learning. And at that time, I always used to think that okay, this looks to be something interesting, but the math was one of the bigger challenge. Like whenever I used to search around 10 years back that okay, how do we learn machine learning? It always used to be math and things like that. But I'm from a diploma background. So with the diploma, what happens is you have some lag with your math, and then you are always scared. I had KTs in maths in the engineering, so maths was always I was scared of and didn't wanted to get much into. But then around 2017-18, from Great Learning, there was a very good course around business analytics and business intelligence. At that time, the sessions used to happen in classroom, and we had a 1 year of monthly, twice or thrice classroom sessions. And those sessions, I was able to at least get some good fundamentals with respect to how this things works. And over the time, I got to know that the math that we learn in the schools and college, which is all solve the math, versus understanding the math in in the use case level, it's very different. When I started to understand math again over the online courses, it was very different and different experience. And then again, learning with great learning to some level had helped me a lot. And then over the time, I was able to transition into machine learning area. It was not simple at that point, but then slowly I got into the different roles. Last recent role, I used to work as a vice president of data science in Motilal Oswal, where we used to lead a lot of AI, ML based use cases across the whole organization. Now I'm running my own venture where we do education plus consulting, all of it together in the AI space. Okay, so that's a bit of a brief about it. But now let's get started on today's exciting topic around the Nano Banana versus the Chat GPT's image, GPT image model. Okay, again, within Chat GPT, you'll find it, but the backend model which is used internally is called as a GPT image. Now, GPT image has again come up with the multiple varieties. It is integrated as part of a GPT ecosystem. So these two, now there are multiple variants. When it all started, like around GPT 3.5 started, the image generation was still a very naive concept. Okay, like the text got very much better. The text got so much better, but then images were still tricky. There was a one interesting technical concept that all changed it called as a stable diffusion. So stable diffusion, one of our companies started this concept and they just uh, blew this whole thing. Textual models, the LLM, started blowing around 2017-18 when there was a paper called as Attention is All You Need. But images models, with the stable diffusion coming in, they came up with a new algorithm through which images can be generated face by face. And that face by face generation allows it to create very nice depiction. And then slowly, all of these big players started to get into the picture. And now we have Nano Banana, GPT-based images, which is just fantastic in terms of the visuals which are getting created. Many of the social media content you will find are going to be with Nano Banana, ChatGPT, even lot of website content that you usually see would be Nano Banana or GPT generated images. Even I use in many of the content that we do, we use it in many of the projects. We create websites and all. There we try to use the images which are getting generated by this. So there is a lot of use cases which has come up. Like one of the use cases that we do used to do with the images in our previous organizations was building some marketing campaigns. Okay, we designed some marketing campaign for different user groups in a dynamic way. We wanted to create a dynamic marketing campaign. So if the user is old, we wanted to show someone old within the image. If the user is young, we wanted to show someone young in the image. So like this, it allowed us to expand the amount of content that we were creating. Otherwise, a person has to create it every time. It used to take a lot of time. So images are again one of our modalities. There is a text, there is an image, there is a video, there is an audio. All of these are different modalities, and text images are one of the big modalities. Okay. Now, before we go into the further part, does anyone know what is the latest Nano Banana and the GPT image model? Can you please put it over the chat if you know? So, you know what is the latest model? So, in the back, there are versions of Nano Banana. In the back, there are some versions of the image model of ChatGPT. Does anyone know which are the latest models? See, Gemini is a family. So Gemini is a family that is not a model in itself. Within Gemini, you have again a model categories. So Deepika, good try. But yeah, there are some more categories which are there. Just I would say quickly search over the Google and let me know. Even that is fine. So what are the top models right now, the recent models right now with respect to Nano Banana and the GPT family, image generation models, the latest ones. Okay, I think I'm not getting the responses, but so the thing is, GPT comes up with the models called as, sorry, the Nano Banana has models like Nano Banana 3, Nano Banana 3 Pro. So it all started with Nano Banana, then Nano Banana 2, 2 Pro, 3, 3 Pro, 3 Flash. So the recent model is 3. I think 3, 3.1 is what they have recently. GPT again came up with the one more model recently, few weeks back, which is called as a GPT Image 2. It is the name of the model which runs in the backend, which we use when you want to run things in an automated way. Okay, so these are the two top players in the market right now who are providing the image generation. There are a few more, but in terms of images, these are the top two right now. Now, Google's Gemini 2.5 Flash model is one of it. It's, I think many of you must have online seen the trend around the Nano Banana based model. Like when Nano Banana came up with the outputs, the whole internet was crazy with generating different type of images. I think some of you may have seen an image where all these big players from the AI companies were made to be in the same room. Okay, like the Sundar Pichai, all of them, Musk and everyone, people created images and that used to look so realistic. Okay, so the boundary between the realistic versus what is generated has become so narrow with all of these image generation systems right now which are there. The GPT model, the Gemini image generation model, Nano Banana, comes up with multiple variants. It has a Flash, it has a Pro, so there is a flashlight. So it comes up with the different speeds and different outcomes. So there are some like light, flash, they are like much faster with slightly reduced accuracy. And there is a Pro, which is with the more accuracy, but slightly slow. So there is a different model, different capability, and different type of outcome. It can generate images in the range of 2K, 4K as a image quality with some very realistic and pixel grade quality images that you can generate with the Nano Banana. Nano Banana can also take multiple images as an input together and then provide you some image generation. You can give it like 10, 15 images as a reference. And then those 10, 15 images it will try to combine together and give you new output. So it also supports this multi-image editing and fusion. So as I told you, it tries to give you. So around I think Nano Banana takes 32 images in one go, 32 or 16. That's the last number I remember. So you can give it in one go those many images, and it can one try to fusion it all together and give you the result. You can just ask it, okay, I have image around this. I wanted to merge together, combine it like this, and it will be able to give you that much more refined outcome. Okay. And then there is also editing. So these models have become very good in terms of editing. You just give it an image and ask it, I want to just update this part of the image, and you give me the result. It will actually make the changes and provide you the result. And it's gaining a lot more popularity with the social media 3D figurine trends which are there. I think many of you may have seen people were creating some small 3D figures on their desk, sitting like that, like a person who's in the um, like you're let's say a Marvel's kind of a character or you're an Avengers character, but your face is there, but it's a toy figure and you're trying to create a 3D looking toy figure and things like that were there. And the sari example, I think many of them must have seen it. So getting a sari based images. So a lot of different trends started around this image generation, but nowadays I think those have become very much integrated in the enterprise applications in every single area. Okay. Now the GPT model. The GPT model initially was slightly lagging behind the Gemini model, Gemini the Nano Banana. So Nano Banana was more powerful till now, but GPT is also trying to catch up to the Nano Banana. They are like in a so these two companies, I think three companies, Anthropic, Google, ChatGPT or OpenAI, they all are in a very tight competition. If one tries to release something, the other one is immediately trying to release something around that. So we are the beneficiaries out of it. So these companies are immediately releasing different type of models and competing with each other. If one gives a good model, immediately others also try to come up with a good model. So OpenAI's model here is like integrated within the one, you have it integrated as part of your chat GPT, but also we as a developer tries to use it as an API. So both ways it is available. You use it as part of a platform where you have to manually prompt it. But you can also use it as part of an API where you can programmatically generate n number of images on the fly, known for a stylistic diversity and creative outputs. So OpenAI focused itself more on creating creative and diversity based objects, whereas Nano Banana kept itself to be very open in the diversity. You can generate different things like you can create marketing campaigns to kids storybooks, things like that with Nano Banana. But OpenAI initially kept itself to be more creative in terms of the artistic and camera focused kind of thing. You can define a camera, be it angles and all, the lighting strategies and all, and it will give you that kind of a creative output. It is effective in interpreting the abstract, descriptive, and narrative based prompts that you can define. You can define the whole storyline. You can define that, okay, this is how the character is coming, this is how the lighting is, this is how the coloring is, or this is the background is. And ChatGPT can replicate those things to a very good level. So those were like initial differentiations which are there with respect to both of these models. Strong for artistic, experimental, and brand focused visuals. Now you have a brand and you have a lot of brand colors, brand themes, and you want to follow those brand themes to some extent. Then OpenAI's model works out very well to work on those brand-based aspects because it tries to keep that style aspects and all very focused. Whereas Gemini, if you have seen like the content strategies or some website content, so those all things it is leveraged in a very good way. Now, if we talk about applications, okay, so in terms of applications now, these are being used across the variety of ways. In my case, to be specific, if I have to tell you, we use it a lot in recently I was developing some websites, and for the websites, I wanted some good assets to be generated. We are also generating some auto-generated videos and shorts. Again, there Nano Banana is something we are using to generate some quick assets on top of it. Assets means we are generating the images, and those images then go into the pipelines. It's all a end-to-end automated pipelines where users giving a initial prompt for a video, the images are getting generated, then those images are getting stitched together, and that whole pipeline works. So in this kind of things, this API-based models which are generating the images helps out very well. Or you try to do the same thing in a manual way, you generate individual images and then put it to the pipeline. That is still a one case. So it got like popularized through the 3D figure and image by the social media content people are building. I think many of you must have seen this visuals around the characters which are explaining the body parts, the animated videos which are explaining inside the body and how it works. Has anyone seen that? There are a lot of Instagram reels which started, I think, 1 or 2 months back, where there are just good 3D figures which are talking and they are trying to explain some fruit benefits or some vegetable benefits. Okay, they are like vegetables. Has anyone seen that? Those 3D figures and videos? Yes, right. So those images in the whole pipeline, what really happens is we those images are not directly generated, but rather first using the image generation models, you first try to generate those assets. Like once those assets are generated, then you try to leverage those assets in the video building pipeline, and then those video building pipeline extends those images. So Nano Banana was the core uh, internal utility in those set of images. Okay, so at that time when people were building those images, Nano Banana was a core powerhouse. And again, Gemini comes up with the one more product called as a VO3. Okay, VO is the product in video generation. So you generate images with Nano Banana, then you feed those images to VO. VO tries to extend that into videos with the audio. So those all kind of things also happens with the this kind of a pipelines. Okay, so social media, 3D figures, all of it comes into this. So there are different use cases which are available: 3D avatars, digital identity, social media editing, and quick creative posts that you want to build. Now there are many websites which helps you create on the fly creative content for the social media. So even in those, the Nano Banana kind of models are used to take in the idea and try to draft those into images and then help you post it over your social media. So there are many companies which are trying to automate the whole aspect with respect to generating this content. Marketing visuals and advertising assets. Many of the top companies, news platforms, and all right now, I do see that everyone has started leveraging the image generated images for marketing visuals. So people who are like using these models on an everyday to basis can immediately quickly understand which images are generated with uh, these models and which images are manually created. So some level, I would not say all of it. Some are very realistic and some like tutorial and all kind of images which are there, those we can easily identify that okay, these are being generated by the Nano Banana or GPT based models. Okay, marketing visual advertising assets, product mockups with high likeliness preservation. Has anyone heard of Claude design? I think there is a recently lot of discussion around Claude design. Has anyone heard of that? Claude came up with a product called as a Claude design. Yes, this last week they came up with this product which went into a lot of discussion. But on top of it, there is also one more product by Google. It is there from a long time. That is called as a Google Stitch. Has anyone heard of a Google Stitch? So Google Stitch is a product by Google, which is purely again for mock-up of your websites. They give you code and all. It can do both ways. It can do uh, UI generation for you using Nano Banana, that it will simply generate the mockup using those Nano Banana based generations, and then you can transform those into a proper code also using that same thing. So things like that works out a lot with all these images. So if you see, there are just n number of use case which are available right now where these things are being used in the whole any company. Every company has different use cases around this. I don't think there is any company who will not have use cases around this. Every company has it. Some are using and some may not be using. Yeah, let me just. Now, if we talk about how do we compare the systems with each other, see one thing is as the time is moving, the difference between both of this is slightly reducing. The systems are trying to get more and more converged and more similar to each other. But there is still some small differences which are there. The recent models which are just like I think last week only, a new model is released by ChatGPT also, which is called as the GPT Image 2. So this GPT Image 2 has now come very close to what ChatGPT is doing. Okay, to some level, sorry, GPT Image 2 is doing very similar to what Nano Banana is doing. Okay, but Nano Banana is also again coming up with a one more version that will be going beyond that in some time. So there is a close competition which is there. But if you talk about some high level comparative aspects between them, one is subject related consistency. If you're talking about some subject and trying to make it generate some information around that subject, the consistency which it is able to generate with Nano Banana is much more higher. Again, as I told you, Nano Banana comes up with a multiple variants. You have a Flash variant, you have Pro variant, and you have a normal variant. So with these three variants, again, the quality differs. So here, the subject consistency is very higher, whereas GPT has some moderate consistency around the subject. If you're describing something, it would be able to give you that subject in a good, almost replicable way, whereas in Nano Banana, you have a high similarity. Getting a finished and realistic looking product. Okay. Nano Banana is much more better in this versus GPT is slightly strong. Both of these are to a good extent, but again have a different way of generation. One is good in more general outputs. One is good in again, again around the creative based outputs. So both of these are strong in their own areas in terms of the finishing that they achieve in both of their areas. Prompt adherence to good level, they are flexible. You can do different things with respect to the prompting. You can provide multiple images and make them flexible with respect to the prompt. You can give it a lot of descriptions. And then based on those descriptions within the prompt, it will be able to build things. Now, editing and multi-image. So in this case, if we talk about editing and multi-image, so this one, Nano Banana provides you much more advanced fusion plus editing approach. You can even highlight some part of the image and say that, okay, I just want to change this part of the image and it will be able to help you do that. Okay, so you can specifically open certain image and say that, see, this is the area where I don't want this face, change this face to something else, or change only this part of the object to something else. This will work out very well with the edits. With the fusion, you are giving it multiple images and asking it to have that fusioned outcome. On top of it, GPT Image 2 has recently come up with a similar type of features. They are supporting 16 images in one go. You can give it a 16 images as a multiple images. And also they are giving an option at the API level, not at the ChatGPT level yet. I have not seen it at ChatGPT level, but at the API level, they're giving an option where we can provide it an area. Okay, so it's called as a mask. So we can provide a mask image and say that, okay, this much of area I want to edit. So that can be given as a mask within that. So here also they have recently started this output. In terms of speed, it depends on the what model you're using. Okay, if you're going with the fast flash model, which is the fastest, you will have a higher speed. GPT image only comes up with the one variant. That's why its image generation is moderate. But again, here also, if you're moving to a more complex one like Pro and all, there again the speed may vary. Okay, the speed may vary again there. But if you're going with the Flash, you will have a much faster output. Again, in GPT image also, there are multiple ways to manage the speed. Like you can define what is the image quality. So going with the lower image quality, like 1K and all, or a lower resolution, where image will be generated faster. So there are hacks around both, but in general, this is slightly moderate because of a single model versus this one has some flexibility because it comes up with the variety of models. In terms of creativity and style, as we discussed, GPT excels in the creativity and style-based aspects, whereas Nano Banana is slightly reduced in that. Price and access for Nano Banana, now there are multiple options which are there. The Gemini is only limited to the Google platform. Okay, Gemini is only limited to Google platform, but again, even within Google platform, you have slight different ways to access it. You can access it to Google AI Studio. There is a product called as a Google AI Studio. Now again, if you're using Gemini web app, you have direct access. But if you want to automate something on top of it, there you need APIs. So if you want to automate, then you can go with Google AI Studio. You can go with the Vertex, which is their AI-based product internally. And then it also comes up with some more variants. There are total three variants which are there. One is Google AI Studio, one is Vertex. Okay, if anyone else knows the third approach, let me know. But there are three different approaches. But now if you're going with the GPT model, GPT earlier had a restriction that they will only stay with Microsoft Azure. One is you can access it through the OpenAI platform itself. So from the OpenAI, you can buy the APIs. And second is through the Azure, because Microsoft and OpenAI has a very close collaboration. So you can also access it through the Azure platform. But recently, just last week, they had discussion that now GPT can also be hosted over other clouds. So now you will be able to also see GPT coming up in other platforms like AWS. Not sure of GPT yet, but at least, sorry, not sure of Google platform yet, but at least AWS, they have started the integration. I think OpenAI models that you can find in AWS platform also. Okay, now how these algorithms really differ from each other? Okay, so first is, see, Nano Banana tries to maintain more focus around the identity preservation around the objects. If you're passing some image with some identity and some objects, it tries to be more consistent with respect to that identity preservation and also the subject related consistency that you can add to it. So both of this thing plays a very important role. On top of it, GPT-5 is more around the creativity. So their training is also around the more that kind of images. So they focus more on the creative style of images, style exploration, narrative driven prompts. So a lot of these options comes into picture. Recently, I was also looking into Gemini UI. Okay, over the Gemini UI, they have also come up with a lot of creative and style exploration based outputs. Okay, so you can also do style explorations within the GPT model. Okay, so for example, if you guys want to see how it looks like, so let me just show you. So in this, just give me- yeah, so in this, like I'll just show about the Gemini. I won't be able to show about the Chat GPT, but if we say create image, so you will see that they come up with a multiple style. So even Gemini has started with this style-based objects where you can select a specific style. So this becomes like a one of a email that you're passing to it, and it will follow the style. Okay, now you can ask it anything as a prompt, and it will be able to follow this same procedure. Okay, so something like this as a styles you can add now. It was not there earlier, but recently, I think this last month, they started with this also as the integration in a interesting way. Okay. Now coming to multi-image fusion, Nano Banana uses advanced mapping to merge the features consistently with each other. Whereas GPT-5 is less focused on the multi-image workflows, but recently they started the focus around it. So some impact we'll be able to see over the next few weeks around this multi-image edits also. Pipeline analogy, which is in this case right now, what it says is like Nano Banana uses a publisher subscriber model for internal pipelines. It has a multiple, when you look at the model structure inside Nano Banana, okay, these are like neural network and deep learning based models internally, where this models internally has image understanding pieces where this input image which are coming, it tries to understand those image and converts them into the embedding structures. Then there is a text data. This text data also gets converted to the embedding the structures, and then model tries to learn them. Embeddings are nothing but transforming any human understandable data to a numeric form. So internally, this model first transform this given prompt and given images into the numeric structure, and then those numbers goes through some complex math, and then out of that math you get a output. So within all these different components which are there, a communication that happens in a publisher subscriber based model. And then GPT-5 is more open creative generation with the flexible interpretation within this case. Now, just if you see some examples, so these examples, if you see, like if you're prompting it a mysterious underwater forest filled with glowing plants, fish weaving through the trees, and shafts of sunlight filtering down from above. So we are also talking about the style, like what kind of a style we want to add here. You can make this prompt much more detailed wherever required, but right now, if you're going with this, we'll be able to see some differences with respect to the styles. So GPT-5 created an image with a fish that look like they are static. If you see, they are just in the background. You cannot see those fishes in a better way. So they all look like a static image. Whereas this one looks to be more colorful. It looks more light. You can see the depth of light. And because of the depth of light, it looks more realistic. Okay, those are light-based aspects are not present here, but here you have those light-based aspects. So Nano Banana tries to pick up this factors in a much more better way. Delivers a much livelier scene with what appears to be glow from the sun beaming into the water. And the fish are different, and the extras he created add a nice touch to the whole thing. Okay. Nano Banana wins for a vibrant scene that better fulfilled the prompt request and even added an extra for the overall more meaningful scene. So you still have to manage these things in a prompt. Sometimes this extra thing that it creates may not be useful to us. So in all this image generation, it's not a one single iteration. Sometimes you need multiple iteration because what you ask it, sometimes it will fulfill that, but they are like smart, extra smart, I would say. So in that extra smart, sometimes they try to fill in additional detail that you may not need, and sometimes they will fill it in a right way. So some experimentations are required when you're dealing with the systems. So if you talk about some key important aspects out of it, see, one is Nano Banana is a Google's cutting edge image model. When it came, it just changed the whole landscape with respect to the image generation. Even we were present in part of this AI from computer vision and all we were dealing, but we never thought this kind of a clarity can be achieved with respect to the image generation. Okay, where these images are much more detailed. Every single information is represented as part of this. And earlier, the textual part was not that good, but now this models can also generate the textual part in a much more better way. Okay, so all those aspects plays a very interesting thing. So text was one of a major challenge with these models earlier, but now every single character these models can put out very well. GPT-5 is powerful for creative diversity and stylistic interpretations, but may struggle with some likeness preservation. Okay, but as I told you, GPT, Gemini, all of those goes in hand. One comes up, others will also immediately come up to catch up to those. So in some time you will see GPT also will be able to catch up on this thing. So professionals must evaluate their needs, brand consistency versus the creative ranges. Okay, so based on your need, you have to decide what really works for you. And so Great Learning program also covers all of these aspects in a deep way, like deep learning, the model that I was talking about, which are used in the backend to generate these models, are diffusion models which are there, and generative AI pipelines to help learners understand these technologies in a much more better way. So now just to give you the brief about the program, so Great Learning is one of India's leading edtech companies for professionals and higher education people. It's like a best in the class completion rates and overall learning satisfaction and career transitions which are available. So more than like 13 million learners are empowered across multiple countries, and has delivered multiple hours of learning and has been there from a good time. And there is a good learner satisfaction which is there. On top of it, they come up with 12 month of program, which is very flexible in the structure, and you'll get a certifications from both Great Lakes and UT Austin. It's ranked number one program for many consecutive years over the time. You'll be able to have like immersive, experiential, hands-on learning that's more again peer-to-peer driven. So you'll be learning with the peers and not as an individual person. So you'll be working with multiple peers together. That's where the main learning happens. On top of it, the overall program is created by faculty who are not just university faculties, they are also like industry experts. They know the industry and the university very well, what is required for learning and what is required at the corporate level. Thinking together, all of these curriculums are designed by these people. On top of it, the curriculum also provides Python, GenAI prep work, and foundations with respect to the different technologies which are required. And there are also a lot of self-paced modules that you can cover after you finish the program. So different domain exposure, different tools, and overall experiential learning, which will be immersive with capstones, peer-to-peer learning, hackathons, and all of that together will be helping you learn much more faster. So with that, we stop here and I'll be open to any questions from the participants, if any. So please go ahead with your questions if you have any on this topic or anything specific in AI. I'll be able to provide my pointers around that. So now the chat is open for you to ask the question.
Yes, Rushikesh. I think there is a question. Someone's asked us how useful is Google Gemini AI of Nano Banana trend and application in US healthcare process?
Okay. So Edward, in terms of US healthcare, now when you asked it, it's a very broad question that you're asking, right? In the overall US healthcare now, it could be used in imaging to some level. It could be used in marketing to some level. It could also be used to, right now, what I see is people are using it to generate some quick visuals in terms of the body parts or any diseases, how it works. So the visual aspect of teaching has increased as a one of a aspect, and also making people aware in terms of the healthcare. So all those marketing, education, these two things is something which is growing across every domain. In the same way, in US healthcare also, these things are growing. Okay. So Edward, I hope I answered the question. But again, yeah, it's a very broad market, and major use cases that I see is around the content creation, which could be around the education, which could be around the awareness, and the learning. Okay, great. So if I want to train my telecom data, then what AI tools can help me to create my model? So again, Rajesh, when you say telecom data, do you have any specific use cases? Because again, telecom is a very broad market, right? So we have been building multiple models in the telecom space around churn, customers understanding the customer staying ratio versus customer churn ratio. So 5G data for, yeah, I may not be very aware with respect to the NWDF. If you can expand it, then based on that, I'll be able to help you. Okay, network function. See, yes, I think in network function, there are a lot of different algorithms around. There are graph-based algorithm, graph neural networks, which are there to understand the whole network flow. On top of it, so one of the thing with respect to the networks is there are two different ways to handle that data. But again, we have a supervised learning, unsupervised learning. There are multiple learning strategies which are there. So one, if you have a specific category that you want to categorize, then you will be going with the supervised learning in those aspects. Both traditional AI models and the deep learning model can help in this more than the generative AI. Generative AI in the large data cases may not be able to help you in a lot better way, but if you have a good data and you can build your quick model, so there without generative AI, you can use machine learning and deep learning models and build some quick learning out of it or a prediction systems out of it. Perfect. Great. Yes, Rajesh. So in this case, I would say this type of data, usually you have to train yourself. LLMs may be able to help you to some level, but building the model you have to do. Nowadays, even LLMs are helping build the model completely. Okay, you can use even LLM to quickly, and LLMs can help you understand the data. Nowadays, even when we are working with any analytic solution, I have been using less and less of building myself. But if you know what steps to take, these LLMs can quickly help you train the systems in a very quick way, even fine tuning the models. But you have to understand what is required to be done. What are the biggest security risks when using tools like ChatGPT? See, ChatGPT, the one of the major risk is you are trying to expose your data to this third party providers, because when you're using ChatGPT, it comes up with the internal setup which says that your data may be used for the retraining. Okay, there is a setup that you have to disable it. If you don't disable it, your data would be used for the retraining. If you're using the free access to the chat GPT, again, your data may be used for retraining. So that's one of our biggest security aspects. But now, if you talk about building AI agents, so when we build our own AI agent, there again, a lot of different security related aspects are there. Not the chat GPT, but when we're using these APIs and building our own models, the security implications are again slightly different. When you're using ChatGPT as an app, the implications are more related to what type of data you're sharing. If AI gives harmful or biased output, who is responsible? That's a interesting question. See now, the company who implements it right now, they are going to be the responsible because they have to test it in the right way. Okay, so testing plays a very important role. So more regulated industries, like I'm coming from finance area, which is more regulated. So in more regulated area, people don't easily go with the system because there the rules and restrictions are more stricter. So there are a lot of testing goes into it before uh, these things are picked up. Okay, so this regulated industries takes a good amount of time to bring any AI-based use cases because they have to test around all of these things. But responsibility stays with the people who are implementing it. Okay, so please go ahead with your other questions. Let me just see there's one more. Yeah, so Mythos is one more flawed system that is coming up now, which is basically around they are saying they'll be able to identify any security based uh, vulnerabilities in your system in a much more easier way. Okay, so that is a model that they are not exposing, but that is something they are saying from any code, they'll be able to extract any security vulnerabilities immediately. So recently, banks and all in India sat together to see how they can mitigate that. If some hackers get access to those models and they are trying to impact the bank's vulnerabilities, so those are still in work. So Priyanka says, I'm in tech teaching education. Image generation is useful in content creation on YouTube. I feel in content creation like text to Gemini is more dynamic and ChatGPT is redundant. I use it every day. I want to develop own agent by feeding data only few weeks into program. I want to learn more. That's great, Priyanka. So it's a great platform for you to learn around it. But that's a good use case that you have there. It's an interesting one.
And also, I would just like to let our attendees know that if they have any doubts or further queries about the program, our team will get in touch with you soon and you can clarify all your doubts with them.
Perfect. So I think the team will be sharing a feedback form with you all. So you
Yes.
guys can fill the feedback form if any questions you have, and the team will be able to get to you.
Yes, I'll just share the feedback form right now itself. In the meanwhile, if we have any more questions, you can write them in the chat box.
Great, everyone. I think if there are no questions, I
Yeah.
hope the session was useful to you. Okay, there was some question, but yeah, guys, like how was the session for everyone? Was it useful? What are some tools and processes that you see might be good to learn for brand marketing and brand marketers? So I think Rohit, that's a hot area right now. There are a lot of tools which are available with respect to brand marketing. Again, see, there are tools, and you can also build your own tools if you understand how the system works in a right way. Okay, so you can also build quick brand guidelines and brand strategies, and then make this models work out and give you solutions. Okay, there are a lot of skills as aspect. Um, you can build some agents around it, but the agents can help you build some quick content, which will be images, text, videos around the brands in the right way. But more of it comes to building a setup and system where you'll be able to define all the processes and the guidelines. But you can use GPT, Gemini, any of this. On top of it, there are many third-party startups and companies which are available in this space. I may not remember exact name because we are mostly building these things by ourselves in our space. So it's easy to build the systems, but there are many third-party solutions.
Do we have any more questions?
From a data research and analytics perspective, apart from running prompts across the big text models, relevant and accurate data from a data research and analytics perspective. See, not just the prompts, when you're building a data research and analytics now, it's from the prompts now, the agents are the core engines which are powering this kind of a research and analytics thing. For example, like we are building uh, a complete valuation systems which bring in the data, which do the research, scan the web, get all the data about the companies, do the peer research, and build something. We're building similar things around the research and analytics in the finance space, but those all don't just work on the prompt. There's a lot of setup that goes into setting up the tools, agents, prompts, memory, RAG. All of these are some additional components which works out. So that helps you to get a more relevant and accurate data.
Yes, the recording will be shared with you as well. It will be shared with you later.
Yeah. So Rohit, just to add, like, see, when you're asking, would these models help with more qualitative data versus, or will it take a while to get there? No, see, currently we are working on getting both qualitative and quantitative data in a much more accurate way. Okay, one of the projects I'm working, we are working on ESG data. And for ESG data, which is one sustainability based data, just to give a brief. But we are bringing in some lot of different factors which are both quantitative and qualitative, and those are working out very well with good accuracy.
I think those are all the questions that we have for now. I would like to thank you so much, Rushikesh, for that insightful and eye opening presentation. You've provided a strong and engaging overview of how Nano Banana and GPT-5 are redefining the landscape of AI mid generation, highlighting their distinct capabilities and creative potential. Thank you so much for conducting the session. I'd also like to thank the attendees for attending it.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a happy learning. Bye. Take care.